Hello YouTube. Today I will again speak about Mongolia and tell you some of the things that most of you have probably never heard of before. So let's start with a very interesting mountain. And on the way from the Tsagan Bogd Uul mountain to the ruins of the Obatu Hural monastery, which is located in the district of Umnogobi or Aimak Umnogobi, in the area of Ezugei Gazir or deserted land, there's a giant Huptin Obo with a base of large stone blocks. Obo are sacred stone heaps used as altars or shrines in Mongolian folk religious practice and in the religion of other Mongolic peoples. They're usually made from rocks with wood. Obos are often found at the top of the mountains and in high places like, for example, mountain passes. In modern times, some of them have developed into large and elaborate structures, becoming more like temples than just simple altars. They serve mainly as sites for the worship of heaven and lesser gods, led by shamans and elders of various kins, but also for Buddhist ceremonies. And according to legends, Tibetan treasure is buried there. A cargo of silver which was carried by 80 camels. So if you ever are in that area and in the area of Ezugei Gazur, you know what to look for. But now I want to tell you about something very interesting and of course little known in the West. In 1909, during the second visit to the dead city of Harohoto, the Kozlov expedition discovered the famous Surbogan with thousands of books, hundreds of sculptures, and various ornaments from Buddhist temples. It was a very interesting find. So let me set the scene. Pyotr Kuzmich Kozlov was a Russian and Soviet traveler and explorer who continued the studies of the Russian military geographer Nikolai Przhevalsky in Mongolia and Tibet. From about 1883 to 1926, Kozlov conducted 6 large expeditions to Mongolia, western and northern China, and eastern Tibet. And he was in charge of 3 of the expeditions. And it was a very interesting period of life for him, and he had experienced a lot of adventures. During the Mongol Sichuan expedition, which lasted from 1907 to 1909, Kozlov discovered the ruins of the dead Tangut city of Harohoto in the Gobi Desert. This city was destroyed by the Ming Chinese in 1372. Now, the legends of the mysterious Harohoto, lost in the sands of the southern part of the Gobi Desert, always excited imagination of Russian travelers. At one time, Pyotr Kuzmich Kozlov became interested in them quite deeply. He dreamed of unraveling the secrets of this dead city, and in November of 1907, at the head of the Mongol Sichuan expedition, he did go there to Mongolia. Now, the Chinese and Mongolian administrations carefully concealed from the Russians the whereabouts of the ancient ruins. However, Kozlov managed to secure the support of the local prince of the Targut Bale tribe, and with the help of the guide named Bata, on March 19, 1908, the expedition finally approached the dead city, located in the bend of the Etsingol River. During excavations carried out in Harohoto from 1908 to 1909, a library was discovered that consisted of the largest body of texts in Tangut, Chinese, and other languages. There were about 6,000 scrolls. Among them are unique works of Buddhist literature, previously unknown and without parallels in other languages. It took the Russians several years to excavate this site and bring to St. Petersburg no less than 2,000 books in the Tangut language that he uncovered there. The expedition collected important ethnographic materials about the peoples of Mongolia and Tibet. The results were presented by Kozlov in the book Mongolia and Amdo and the Dead City of Harohoto. I don't know if you can get a copy, but if you do, and if it's in English, I think you will like it. There were so many finds that the loaded caravan could not take everything with it, so it was decided to leave some of the things in a secret place, mainly in a large sculpture. In 1926, during his third visit to Harohoto, Kozlov could not find the statues hidden by him in 1909. And until now, they have not been found. But imagine the treasures, and not just material, but spiritual, which is being hidden in those statues. And maybe one day they'll find them. Now I want to tell you about something interesting. I always try to bring stories about the so-called snowman and Yeti and others, but this is something else. Just listen to what it is. In the Tsagan Bogd Uul mountain range lives the Gobi bear, Mazalai, which is a relic animal that has become the prototype of the mysterious hairy people, or Almas, snow people of Central Asia. Currently, the species status of these animals is not clarified. It is believed that this is a unique population of brown bear living in the desert. According to the Mongols, upright, hairy creatures, 1.5 and taller meters tall, are found in the desert mountains of Tsagaan Bogdo. The first travelers who saw a living Almas, the Gobi bear, they were Soviet people, Murzaev and his companion botanist Yunatov. It was in 1943, and they described the creature as an animal of small size, smaller than a brown forest bear, with dark brown fur, quickly and deftly running, and the animal was very careful. The legend added that the Gobi bear perfectly understands human speech, lives in impregnable rocks where the animal has well-equipped dwellings. It doesn't show itself to a human being, and it walks on its hind legs. The superstitious nomads explain these qualities of the Gobi desert bear as follows. Gobi bears are some kind of hairy people. They can speak and live in caves, where they are rarely seen. Thus was born the legend of the hairy Gobi people, Almas. So the bear is out there. It's really, we're not sure exactly about the subspecies, and people often mistake it for the Yeti or snowman or other creatures of this kind. Now let's talk about what they called in India Shweta Dvipa, but we're speaking about Mongolia. This was at the time when gardens bloomed on the side of the modern Shamo or Gobi Desert, and water splashed and the continents looked different, and the north was in a different place. So we're speaking about a so-called esoteric knowledge, and some of it very cryptic, some of it less, but quite fascinating. And the information is that there was a highly developed civilization in the Gobi Desert. After many catastrophic changes on Earth, shortly before the last disaster that destroyed all living things, the High Gobian civilization founded the center of the immortals and the knowledge repository, time capsule for the chosen ones, in an artificial cave system on the White Island in the area known as Gobi Desert. Subsequently, these direct heirs to the solar dynasty became the progenitors of all people living in the current era. After a global catastrophe that completely changed the world, the keepers of knowledge of the White Island for a long time remained in complete isolation and loneliness, fought for the survival and preservation of humanity on the planet. Information about the White Island is found in various sources. They speak of the existence in ancient times, on the site of the modern Gobi Desert, of the inland sea, on one of the islands of which, incomparable in beauty, at the sunset of Atlantis civilization. Selected representatives of this mysterious Venice civilization were saved after the global flood, which later gave rise to a new race. According to legends, this island exists now, in our modern times too, as an oasis in the middle of the silent desert of Gobi, devoid of people. The extensive literature on the secrets of this Venice civilization that existed before the official chronicle of mankind also contains a story about the resettlement of some of the saved people from the catastrophe, of course, to Egypt and to the territory of modern Mexico and Peru, and to the center of Asia, to the territory of the modern Gobi Desert. According to these ancient myths, the dominant race to control the development of mankind was located in a secret monastery in the center of the Asian mainland. Now, according to the India's Kurma Puranas, once upon a time in the North Sea, which was located in the area where the present Tibet is now, there was an island called Shveta Dvipa, or White Island, where the immortals lived. In the sanctuary of the immortals, the physical world was connected with the abode of the gods, and those who lived there constantly lived in two worlds, the objective world of matter and the higher spiritual one. It was assumed that the immortals had the ability to travel as they wish throughout the universe, from one world to another, and even lived on distant stars. According to Tibetan tradition, the White Island is the only place that avoids the fate of all Dvipa. It cannot be destroyed by fire or water, for it is the eternal earth. Now, geological studies of modern scientists have also proved that the Gobi Desert is the bottom of some ancient sea. Over time, according to ancient Tibetan legends, the dedicated teachers were divided into two communities, which chose different paths for further development. The legend told that these communities became the basics of two different kingdoms: the terrestrial kingdom, the center of power, the city of violence, dominated by the king of fear, and the underground country of Hagarti, wisely ruled by the king of the world, who knows all the hidden springs of the universe. He secretly controls the behavior of 800 million people on earth. They all fulfill his will. In the mythology of the Mongolian Buddhists, Agartha or Agartha is the innermost mystical center of the earth, embodying the legacy of the solar dynasty, the ancestors and lawgivers for and of people living in the current era. By the way, I have a video about a Russian war leader, a warlord looking for Agartha, and I will present the link in my description. Let's continue. In a mysterious underground country, the ancient initiated ones live, secretly guiding the course of world events. In myths and an underground country, a system of caves and tunnels is located somewhere in the Gobi or in the Kunlun Mountains. In the myths of Shambhala, there is often a story about long underground passages, often ending in a stone door, never opened by anyone. According to Nikolai Roerich, renowned Russian philosopher, writer, explorer, and painter, Secrets for the future are hidden behind the stone door in the cave, but the deadlines have not come yet. And he also mentioned that the Mongol guides say a lot about the underground passages. Look for the entrance to the secret dungeons in the sandy hills. I also remember reading his notes about strange people that appear in the deserts of Mongolia and carry very unusual coins that no known civilization has. I couldn't find the original full story, but I was looking of his publication. Anyway, excavations by archaeologists have confirmed the existence on the territory of modern Mongolia 2000 years BC of a large center for the production of copper and bronze. The discovered ancient gold objects are distinguished by their very detailed processing and sophisticated golden pattern with the thickness of a human hair. And that's in Mongolia, thousands of years before Common Era. In the mountains of the Altai Gobi, according to travelers in the 1940s, lives an isolated tribe of tall people with long hair. These people differ in their appearance from the Mongols. They have oblong faces. They most reminded the eyewitnesses of the Indians. They rarely descend from the mountains to the valley of lakes, and they avoid any contact. There is no exact information about this tribe. Now, according to unconfirmed reports, the location of this tribe, the Bayan Tsagan Uul, or the White Mountain Range, 3,452 meters high, it coincides with the description of the location for the White Island. In the same area, explorers found numerous evidence of people who lived there 700,000 years ago. They also identified zones that are key for solving the hypothesis of initial exploration and development by humans of central regions of Asia. And in the Middle Ages in Asia, many legends were disseminated about humanoid creatures and immortality. One of these legends is cited in his notes by a 13th century European traveler, Guillaume Rubruck. I hope I pronounced it right. He was dispatched by King Saint Louis of France to the Mongols and subsequently published his book Journey to the Eastern Countries, the first two geographical and ethnographic ideas about the deep regions of Asia. They also tell for the truth that there is a certain area beyond Kataya, which is China, with such property, no matter what age a person enters it, he remains at that age at which he entered. That's from the French explorer's notes. Very interesting, look him up. Now, it is curious that his record refers to the way from Harohoto to Karakoram. That is approximately the same locality known to many travelers as protected places within the Hangai and Gobi. And I already told you about the exploration of the Russian scientist in 1908-1909 in Harohoto. But now let's look at the Chinese sources. An ancient Chinese legend about the land of the immortals states the following. In the east of Quicksand, near the Black River, a mountain rises, called Mountain Immortality. At its top, many trees of immortality grow. They have round leaves and red branches, yellow flowers and red fruits. Eat them and you will not feel hunger. From there originates the river of immortality, Dan Shui. It flows west and flows into the lake of Millet. There is a lot of white jade, and there is a key of jade nectar. According to the information of the ancient Chinese historian Sima Qian, the elixir of immortality was located on 3 sacred mountains in the Bohai Sea. Those who once reached these mountains said that there are celestials and an elixir that grants immortality, and that all objects, all birds, all animals on the island are white, and palaces and towers are made of gold and silver. I don't think they refer to the race, I think it's just the color, but who knows. Those who reached the mountains saw them like clouds. When they came nearer, these 3 sacred mountains went underwater. When they sailed to that place, the wind suddenly carried the ship away, and in the end, the ship could not reach the target. Among the rulers, however, there was no one who did not want to reach these mountains. One of the old Chinese legends speaks of a strange astronomical phenomenon that occurred about 3,000 years BC, the fall of a huge star on the island of flowers in the Gobi Desert. It is possible that this legend is also associated with the widespread legend of the gift of Orion, the legend of the treasure of the world, or the Chintamani stone, which says, in ancient times a wonderful stone fell from a distant star. In the place where it appeared, Shambhala, the stronghold of light, was founded, and to this day this stone is stored here on the Rigden Japo Tower in a special chamber. The stone is credited with magical properties to control the forces of nature and radiate energy that promotes the formation of new centers of civilization and changes conscience. They say that when a stone gets dark, clouds accumulate. As if it becomes heavy, blood spills. When it gives flashes of fire, the world is on the verge of a cataclysm. But when a star shines over it, peace and prosperity are close by or at hand. Now let's look at the times that were definitely not connected to peace and prosperity, and this is also important when I speak about Mongolia. Russian author Yuri Sergeyev collected interesting stories about Mongolia. Some of them were recollections of Vladimir Vladimirovich Radzaevsky, who was associated years before with a Russian emigre newspaper in Harbin, Gunbao. In 1945, he returned to Soviet Russia from China. He was imprisoned, and after some years, he was set free. When Sergeyev was visiting with him in the city of Almalik, near Tashkent, Uzbekistan, in the mid-1980s, the Soviet writer recorded 2 general notebooks and 12 audio tapes with the stories and materials Radzaevsky gave him. Radzaevsky's memory was amazing. He knew all the Chinese generals by name. He met with many. So, when the Japanese captured Harbin, it seems in 1937, the plague epidemic began. A special hospital was opened for patients, in which an elderly Mongol soon appeared with bags of some herbs. He cured 120 people of the disease. Radzaevsky met with him, and the Mongol told him that many years ago his whole family died out from the plague. Then for many years he crawled across the steppe in the colonies of Marmot Tarbagans. They also suffer from this plague, but they know how to recover. He crawled and watched what grass the Tarbagans eat when they become ill, and he discovered the right herbs. After the Mongol cured 120 patients, he was found dead and thrown into trash. According to a journalistic investigation by Radzaevsky, Japanese intelligence services killed him. The fact is that located next to Harbin was their I should say infamous bacteriological laboratory. They dropped bombs and shells with fleas of infected disease onto the Chinese. And here was some Mongol who began to heal the Chinese people. So how dared he? It was a horrible period in Chinese and Japanese history. Anyway, the most amazing secret, according to the same Radzaevsky, was the following. In one of the conversations, Sergeyev mentioned a world-renowned Russian philosopher, writer, explorer, and painter who lived in several countries and whose last name I will not mention here until and if I find more proof of the story. Anyway, upon hearing this famous name, Radzaevsky jumped up indignantly from his chair, and he said that due to the fault of this celebrity, who was according to him an employee of the NKVD, or the KGB of the time, secret Soviet police, a world secret was destroyed. Radzaevsky often visited Mongolia, and when he was ordained there, and he was, those who ordained him took him and revealed a secret monastery in the mountains. It seems to be on the border with Tuva. The monastery had a history of several thousand years. Let me describe what Radzaevsky observed, based on Sergeyev's information. On a flat rock, a figure of a man, or shape of a man, about 50 meters long, was cut down, okay, or cut out in separate pools. One pool was the head, one pool the heart, one pool the liver. There were pools for arms, legs, etc. In them, along the stone pipes, were arjan, or flowing hot mineral springs. If your head hurt, you would climb into the pool of the head, and snakes would entwine around you. They would crawl along your head, entwined around your body. How did they live in warm water? Snakes, those snakes did not bite, and he had never seen such species of snakes. After a person crawled out of the pool of that part of his body that was sick, the disease instantly disappeared. The monks fed the snakes with something unknown, and they took care of the snakes. They looked after them. Radzaevsky reproached himself for telling that celebrity about this monastery and showing it to him on the map, because the celebrity passed the secret to the Japanese, and they sent a military expedition to the monastery, and they shot the monks, threw out all the snakes, washed the pools out, and launched just plain mineral water again. And that's it. The healing effect disappeared. It turns out that these snakes secreted special enzymes that healed people. Sergeyev himself was in Tuva, and so there are arjans, trying to find one in the shape of a man. But where would he find, where would you get the unusual snakes and the ancient knowledge of the monks? There's so much more in Mongolia, and this is a country, if you can, visit it, and at the same time see the surrounding countries. And I tell you about some of them. So I'll stop here, and I'll continue my research and videos later. Please support my research. I thank you for your attention, and we'll speak again.